Welcome back to Move It Fix Monday. I'm here with Marlo Fiskin, and we are going to do another Flowbility movement, transitioning like through the foot, like onto the toes, which is something that a lot of people aren't comfortable with. They don't train. The weight should be on your heels, like with squatting, right? And then the idea of your heel lifting up is like something that's like not allowed, I guess. And for squatting, it probably shouldn't be, but that doesn't mean in regular human movement, when you have a bar on your back, that you shouldn't be able to transition through the middle of your foot onto your toes. So I think that's kind of what we're going through. Or?
Yeah, well, we're gonna take a small sequence that the foot and ankle movement, it's foundational to what we're going to do, but probably the quad stretch is what will be the most profound sensation that comes along with it.
Okay.
So we'll do the first few a little bit slower so I can give you some alignment tips, and then we'll get it flowing a bit more. So you're starting, I'm going to turn on a diagonal so you can see what's going on. Starting position is simply seated with your fingers. They call this tented. So
tented
fingers.
Okay.
Like that. And then you bring your heels as close to your pelvis as you can.
Okay.
Cool. Then you'll push into the floor so that your pelvis comes up off the ground. And just simply shift your pelvis towards your heels and take note of how far your shins can move forwards over your toes. So you're like, okay, this is your spot. You're gonna try to push that edge a bit as we do this with a step. So take your right foot forwards and then start to shift your weight again until your sits bone comes close to your heel, and you try to delay the heel coming off the floor as long as you can, until you start reaching your knee forwards a little bit more. Exactly, you can take a step. You can also step slightly out on a diagonal.
Yeah, there's the quad thing.
Oh, there it is, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're going to pull this knee in towards your midline as much as you can.
Yep, that's something.
And then you try to open up the front of this hip with a little butt squeeze. And then you pick your pelvis up off of your heel as you reach your knee forwards again.
Okay.
It's feeling that?
Yeah, I was definitely wrong when I said it was more about the foot.
Well, the foot,
I mean, it's about the foot,
starts it off, right? And then you bring it back down and you try to get the crease in the front of the ankle, so you send the heel down, and then you change. You pull one in, you step the other forward. So I'm going forwards and slightly out from the hip.
Okay.
And you transfer your weight. So you keep the heel down as long as possible. And you try to get that, I call it the squish in the front of the ankle.
Yep.
Right? And then think of the front of your knee getting heavy and reaching forwards and down. Pull it in towards your midline, and then fire up your butt. And you can try lifting your pelvis up off of your heel as you reach your knee down for a profound active quad stretch. And if you're still just having, it's not enough, then you can bend your elbows and hinge back as you do it.
I'll get there at some point.
Yeah. So we can use this in motion. So from a seated position, I slide one foot out on a diagonal, rock forwards, and then without sitting, I slide this foot in, slide the other foot forwards.
So you're keeping your pelvis off the ground the whole time.
You can. Of course, you could sit down and work on 1, 2, shift in.
So you're getting through that,
1, 2.
what we just did, but in a fluid way where there's not like a sustained hold, like a classic stretch.
Exactly.
It's about getting into and out of the position.
You could see how that might be something that I use if I'm coming down here, and I could shift back.
You know what I like a lot about this is the actual stretch is so much more quad than a lot of quad stretches or hip flexor stretches people do, where they're really just like stressing the hip joint. And so like from an anatomical perspective, like I think this would be a much better selection for a lot of people than just trying to smash like the hip flexor stretch.
Yeah.
Because people like load up the front of their hip joint and the ligaments and all that stuff. That was not what this is. This is like actual in your thigh, which is really what you want when you're stretching muscles, and like you don't want to be like overstretching your joint. So I really like that for a lot of people instead of the classic stretches.
Very true. This one, I note sometimes people will complain of discomfort in the knee.
Yeah,
and
like when you fully bend and load the knee, right?
Well, it's the compression, but #1 tip for that is make sure you're pulling it in towards your midline so your adductors are firing, and then do this.
That'll
Lift
change the mechanics.
Yeah,
of the
engage
knee,
the
for sure.
glute, pull it in towards center, and that tends to alleviate the knee pain as it balances out the stretch a bit more.
Got it.
Also, sissy squat, is that a thing that you
I've
do,
heard of
or
this.
it's being able to hinge?
Oh,
right. This
that's not
is
what I was thinking of.
well, that's what that is.
That's what that is.
Yeah. So being able to control yourself in this position. This is a regressed version of that, really, or a stretch to prepare for that.
I see. Yeah.
Motion. If you just want to walk and then be like, "Hey, what's up?"
Yeah. I frequently find myself wanting to do that.
Wanting to do that, yeah.
Now I know how to start getting there. Awesome.
You know your quads are in good shape if you can, pop in and out of that.
If you can do that, yeah. Also good for limbo.
Very good for limbo.
I bet you can do that, like the limbo pretty low.
I did all right in my day.
Yeah, I bet. Awesome. So this is like one part of like the Flowbility.
Exactly. So this is a type of movement that I teach in the Flowbility videos, and it frequently builds into a small sequence that you're able to play within. So rather than it just being, this is my stretch, you could play with shifting your weight.
I like that you even had like a serious face, like this is my stretch.
Yeah, right. This is my stretch. Yeah. I always say, like, your stretching should not look like stressing. Like, there's a degree, of course, stress to the body, but if you're approaching it with this kind of mindset, it's a strange place to then ask your body to relax a bit. You know?
Right.
So there's a spectrum. Tension can help relaxation, right? But if you're always in a state of tension while you're trying to get things to release, explore the ease part of it as well.
Awesome. So people can find that is that at flowmovement.net?
Flowmovement.net is all of my work and this type of material, which is Flowbility.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for taking me through the quad.
Thank you.
The better
We should
quad
just do a
stretch.
few more for good measure.
I'm gonna do that later.
Actually, you know the kind of Russian folk dancing.
Yeah.
That's another
is that
perfect
what
use.
they do this stretch? Is that how they were able to do that?
Maybe. I don't know.
Awesome. Well, make sure you guys go to flowmovement.net, and they can also find it at Instagram at Flow Movement.
Flow
right?
Movement, Instagram, Facebook.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Make sure you guys check that out. Get a little quad stretch Flowbility going on, and I'll see you guys next week.